Here we are. This section is nice and dry now. Maybe a little damp yet, but it's not running across the page. So what I'll do next is come in and do the center petal that's tucked in behind those two front ones. I'm wetting it. And then I'll place a little bit of the yellow near the top and towards the right hand side, leaving a bit of a gap where we'll put some of the opera color near the bottom and the left hand side. There we go. I'm going to repeat this with the remaining petals. Now this is just an underpainting, so if it does happen to run into some of the other areas you've already painted, no worries. The red will help to correct a lot of evils on our next layer. So because this petal is quite near the left hand side, I'll use more of the opera and hardly any yellow for this one. Get nice crisp edges here because I'm using a synthetic brush. Nice stiff bristles push into the edge and make it nice and crisp. For my next petal, I'm going to leave just the tiniest gap between the two so that I reduce the chance that there will be bleeding between the layers. Although that pink just wanted to bridge the gap itself. And we do have a little bit of opera sneaking into our first layer here. Okay, so back to opera. I just love the way when the paper is already wet and you add a juicy paint, it just shoots across the page. And the yellow is added. Remember, because our light is coming from this direction, there will be more light near the top and the right hand side. The final petal, and because this one is on the right hand side, it will receive quite a bit of light. So we're going to make this one mostly yellow. Get nice and rich to make sure you can see the effects of the underpainting. Okay, so our tulip is ready to go. But now what we're going to do is think about underpainting the stem and the petals. Yellow is a nice color for underpainting on green as well, because green is comprised of yellow as well. I do have some pink sneaking into my middle petal, so I'm just going to lift that. There we go. Okay, so back to the petal and the stem. Now the light is coming from here. It would be blocked, so we won't really have any yellow here, just under the tulip. But if we travel a little farther down the stem, on the right hand side, we will have some yellow. So I have wet it And now I will add the yellow. I left a bit of a gap where there's no water, and it's going to remain white, so there's no underpainting there. I'm also going to add some yellow underpainting near this edge of the leaf. I'm wanting it nice and bright so that you will see it and you'll see the effects once the top coat is put on. You can decide how much or how little, how bright you want your underpaintings. I'm adding some yellow now to the second leaf. I'm blending out the edges a little bit with the water. So one more area that I think would be falling into the light, and it's dependent on whether the leaf is turned out or turned in. So in my imagining, the leaf is upright, quite a bit upright, and light is falling onto it. As well, on the other half, this leaf is folded in two, and this edge I'm imagining would also have some yellow, some light falling on it, so I want some yellow underpainting, making it nice and bright. This one I didn't paint wet on wet. I didn't want it to travel across the entire leaf. So I'm just blending it out a little bit to soften the transition. Even at this stage with underpainting, although it will be covered with another color, I do like to try to have some lights and darks for variety. So there you have it. This is the underpainting stage. We'll let that dry before we go on to paint the red layer and the sap green layer for the leaves. Red for the tulip and sap green for the leaves.